All right, Akim. Shalom, shalom, shalom. You know, before we get started into the lesson and we start anything at all, we're going to start by giving all praises, honor, and infinite glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakak Wadash, and double honors to the apostles and the elders at Great Millstone, and peace and salutations to the hopeful elect Akim that are laboring by pushing this word in truth and sincerity. This is your brother Nahar, out here from the Hebrew Israelites of Idaho camp, and this lesson is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to get into the scriptures first and explain why I'm doing this lesson, and then get into what I wanted to speak on about this lesson. So, first off, a little bit of my background of wanting to do this lesson. I've lived in Idaho most of my life, and in the other portions, I've lived in Portland, the Pacific Northwest area, which is, big into camping, outdoor activities, hiking, et cetera, et cetera. I've been camping with my family ever since I can remember. That was just, I guess, a thing that our family did. And we'd go to like campgrounds and stuff like that, nothing too crazy. But as I got older, I got more into it and wanted to kind of push the limits on what I can do. And I always thought it was really cool that somebody can be self-sustaining, with just the stuff they carry on their back, and that's called backpacking. It's pretty much the same thing as camping, just everything that you have is just carried on your back. So, that's your shelter, that's your food, that's your supplies, that's your med kits, that's miscellaneous things that you'll need that you don't even really think about until you're actually out there. But, with that being said, I started backpacking when I was 17, and I'm 26 right now. And I've gone on, more trips than I can count. And, that's not even exaggerating. It was a big thing for me, to go out, every weekend, So I wanted to just take, that almost 10 years of experience and just try to bring it to the Akim at the best way that I can. And what I wanted to use this knowledge that I have to tie into this truth is really just getting brothers ready to pretty much get prepared for the unexpected, because Jacob's trouble is coming and we don't know exactly what we're going to need or what's going to get us through. But, there's plenty of scriptures on going into, foreseeing evils and hiding yourself. And so that's the first scripture that I wanted to bring out. This is Proverbs 22:3. This is, a prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. So before that, no matter what preparations you make in this life carnally, per se, nothing, and I can't reiterate this enough throughout this whole lesson, and I'm going to stop the lesson just to reiterate this point, that no matter how many preparations that you have, how many stocks of things that you may have stored up, if Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai has you slated for destruction and judgment, there's nothing that you can do to escape that. This video is mainly for the Akim Wa Akwat that have no idea how to get, started on the basics of self-sustainment, and it's really just everything that I'm going to talk about in this video can fit in your backpack. And all of this stuff is not something that you need that's going to make or break what your experience is, but these are things that I've noticed in the field that help me and make my life easier. And the only way to go out there is to go and take a few camping trips, take some of these supplies ideas, and go spend a night or two, in your local national forest if you have access to one. And another thing too, that all of these things that I'm going to talk about applies to the city as well. All these materials and stuff that you can use in the country, where I'm at out here in Idaho, will work in the city just as fine. But, and this is part of being a prudent man foreseeing the evil, like I read in Proverbs 22:3, Salakia. And I'm going to read it again, but this is Proverbs 22:3. A prudent man foreseeth the evil, and the evil is hard times. So we can see the hard times are coming, right? And hideth himself. And how do you hide yourself? First and foremost, by following the law, statutes, and commandments to the best of your ability, living by faith, doing the works, learning from the elders and apostles at Great Millstone, and putting your investment in this truth, not in gear here, gear there, because none of that is going to save you. Ultimately, the Thawa, pursuing to Ezekiel 9:4, is what's, that mark of exemption from judgment, is what's going to get us through. And I can't reiterate this enough. I want to keep saying it. None of these preparations are going to save your life. Only Yahweh Bashem Yahushai can. But there are certain things that he told us are going to come. He said in Matthew 24, and I can go there. Oh, you know what? I'm going to read this because it's on the same page. But, it's also said that he that endureth until the end, the same shall be saved. So we know we're going to have to endure through this. And Yahweh Bashem Yahushai can make manna rain down from heaven. But are you going to want to test God to that point where he's going to have to be forced to rain manna down to feed you? Even though we're going to expect miracles in those days. So again, don't take away what I'm saying, but you want to make sure that you've, done what is coming to the best of your ability by preparing. And I'm not saying go buy a bunker, get all stacks of Costco waters and all these things like that, because we're going to be on the move, and I'm going to get to that, before I even get into any of this. But this is Proverbs 21:31. This is, the horse is prepared against the day of battle, but safety is of the Lord Yahweh. So, you can put all the armor on the horse, put all the gear in your backpack that you want, but safety is of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Again, reiterating the point that no matter what preparations you make, if Yahweh Bashem Yahushai has you slated for judgment, expect judgment and nothing but. So I'll jump ahead to Matthew 24 real quick, because I quoted that. Slovakia. This is Matthew 24 and 13. It says, but he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. So we understand that, we're going to have to endure through something. And that enduring is through Jacob's trouble, saying no to the Charagma, hiding from all these Gurga troops, hiding from the FEMA troops. We're going to be pilgrims on the earth. And I'm going to get that right now. And that is 2nd Esdras 16 and 40. This is, oh, my people. So this is to the Israelites. Hear my word. Make you ready to the battle. And in those evils, be even as pilgrims upon the earth. So, I'll start from the top. Oh, my people, Yashar Allah, hear my word, which is who the whole Bible is to. Make you ready to the battle. And that ties into Proverbs 21:31 that I read before, saying the horse is prepared for battle, but safety is of the Lord. So we're even supposed to prepare ourselves for that day, spiritually, first and foremost, before you even think about making a carnal preparation, because none of those carnal preparations are going to work if you don't have Yahweh Bashem Yahushai protecting you. This is continuing, and in those evils, which is those evils is talking about hard times, and those hard times specifically is going to be Jacob's trouble, because no other time in history has all of Israel had to be pilgrims at one time, because there's been, when the southern captivity, the southern kingdom was making their way into their captivity, the northern kingdom wasn't being as pilgrims. We were already established here in the North Americas. So, in the Americas, I should say. So, not all of Israel was pilgrims all at one time, other than being in the wilderness, which is what this lesson is titled. Backpacking basics for self-sustainability in the wilderness. I think something like that. And it's just like a gear checklist. But this is be even as pilgrims upon the earth, and that's the last line of that scripture. And that's going into pilgrims. And the word pilgrim goes into somebody seeking righteous refuge, so we're always going to be moving, always going to be going here and there and there and here. So I'm going to grab, Khan, the water for the precepts. The water, Yawana. So you know, I didn't want to go on, you know, too much about what I am and what's about me. And I know this is gonna kind of blend from when I start going into this gear. I know I'm already gonna do it, so I'm warning you. I'm gonna use examples of how having this in the camping backpack world, all the same rules apply to Jacob's Trouble. You're still gonna have to get warm, get shelter, stay dry. You know, learn self medicine. You know, there's certain things that you can get, and I recommend Akim get foraging books on edible plants in their local area. Every sporting goods store, you know, Cabela's, Bass Pro Shop, Sportsman's Warehouse. I know there's some other major ones that I can't think of off the top of my head. They all have a little booklet section of edible plants. You know, so it's definitely good to have that knowledge, you know, beforehand. So, you know, and I didn't want to make this lesson too drawn out, but I know it's going to take a little while grabbing this stuff out and showing you guys and giving a brief explanation. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to take what I have in my bag. My bag right now is packed, ready to go for a 3 to 4 day trip. So everything that is in here is everything that you're going to need in that time. And some of these things can be changed depending on Akim Watt's geolocation. And I'm just going to use it for, you know, Idaho forests. So, you know, that's the precepts that I wanted. And again, I can't reiterate this enough. No matter what preparations you do, this is not for like a prep video, but this is for brothers that want to know more about it, because this is the knowledge that I know, you know, in the world. This is just one of my, you know, other hobbies that I do and have done, you know, for the majority of my life, majority of my adult life. You know, so I want to take what I know and just share it with the brothers. And you can take this with a grain of salt and take what you want. Oh, I'll never need that. I'll take that. Oh, that's a good idea. I don't know they made that. You know, just an example for Akim Wakwa, you know. And so I'm going to get into it, and I'm going to just start with your clothing. What I recommend everybody should get and wear as materials out there. And I'm actually going to take my garment off of this section. I put it on so that I can read the scriptures and break them down correctly as I'm teaching. Now I'm going to transition into this, and I'm still going to, you know, go back and forth to scriptures if they come to mind. But, you know, this is going to be a rundown. Again, this is a not normal lesson for what you're used to seeing. But if you're just tuning in, I went through the scriptures in the beginning part of the lesson that I'm going to use for explaining why I'm even doing this lesson in the first place. And I also was a little bit, not in the way hesitant, but I just wanted to make sure that I'm facing this the right way. And I did reach out to a couple other elder brothers that are above me and kind of gave them a rundown how I was going to do the lesson to make sure that it wasn't, you know, going off. But, you know, this is just some knowledge that I have that I want to share with you, Akim, that you can take it or leave it, do whatever you want with it. But this is just speaking about what I've known and what's worked for me. So, and when shit pops off, no one knows where they're gonna go. I mean, the Lord is gonna guide your steps, man. You know, we may think that we're gonna go into the forest, but we may not be home. You can make all this gear, keep this in your closet, man, and shit hits the fan 20 miles down the road on your commute on the highway. No way when shit hits the fan that you're gonna be able to even get to this. So I also recommend, brothers, keep a little kit, you know, in your car. And you can downsize this to even stay in your car or wherever you are most of the time. But, you know, the forest would be good, but, you know, there's going to be no food over there. So got to know how to forage and do certain things. But like I said, Yahweh Shem Shai is going to take care of his own no matter what this is. The Most High can put all the knowledge of 100 years of backpacking in your mind in a split second. So you can't put Yahweh Shem Shai in a box, you know, but this is just some stuff, you know, like I said again, that I know that I'm sharing with you, Akim, that you can take it or leave it, but I'm going to get into it. So, like I said, I'm not teaching right now other than going over some gear, so I'm going to take this off. Okay, so start from your base. The first thing that you're going to need before you go out into the field on a day hike, in times of Jacob's trouble, you're not going to be wanting to wear running shoes. Some of your J's. Oh, bad day to wear your J's, man. At least have some good pair of boots with you. These are the boots that I use. This is called a Danner powder horn. This is a 10-inch boot right here, and I always recommend people have at least a 6 to 10-inch boot length, because when you're on uneven ground and you're walking in the mountains, you do not want to have a rolled ankle, a sprained ankle in the wilderness, especially for your feet. Always get a high cut boot, and preferably waterproof. These are waterproof up to that level, and I recommend Danner. Danner has the best boots, hand down, for hiking. I've used them for more than 10 years. So before I even got into hiking, I was wearing Danner boots because they were so comfortable. But, again, these are powder horns. Get a good pair of boots. You're not going to want to be running around in your running shoes. A second thing, wear pants. You're not going to be wanting to wear hiking like Mr. Joe Safari, wearing short shorts. Wear some pants. Don't wear denim. Stay away from cotton. And a rule of thumb is cotton is a killer. So you have to make sure that you get wool socks. I think that's one thing that I may not have an extra in this pack, but you want wool socks. Wool socks are wick away. They don't draw moisture to your feet, and they dry out quicker. And when cotton gets wet, it pulls heat away from your body. So that's a bad thing when you're trying to stay warm. Wear layers. Wear a tank top, a shirt, a long sleeve, and another hoodie over it. And with that, you can take layers off and shove them in your bag. But when you're out there, you can't go back to your house and get another jacket. So I have a few different items that I'm going to explain how to keep warm if you have no heat source. But so boots, pants, layers. And one thing that I always tell people to get, if you don't have one, and when you get on the hiking trail, is get a stick, get a staff, get something to hike with, because you want to at least the distance of your body, and it helps to give you pretty much a third wheel, stabilize you. It helps take weight off your feet and your back, and helps distribute it more in your arm, and so you don't get tired as quick. And then also, if there's something that you want to keep distance away from you, you can always use this as like a poker stick. And as for brothers that want to, carry a self-defense something in the woods, by all means, I do recommend it. You don't want to be in the wilderness walking around a bunch of grizzlies, cougars, wolves, wolverines, etc., and not have a means of defense. And that's just common sense. And that's all I'll say on that. This is something that is your shelter. You can get a 2-man tent that looks like this for about, under $100. And you don't have to get the fanciest thing, because you can get even something. This one was $98, and I've had this one for 3 years, and it just recently broke. And just the poles started snapping. It's just wear and tear. But a 2-man tent, something that's under 4 pounds, under 4 to 5 pounds, and you're doing good in the backpacking world. But remember, backpacking stuff, the lighter it is, the more expensive it is. But also remember that you get what you pay for. So if you buy cheap stuff, expect cheap results, or for it to break down. And there's going to be certain things that I can tell you right off the bat you don't want to skimp on, to save up for. And the number one thing is the water filter. And I'll get to that. So we have your shelter, and there's another option too. If you don't want to go and spend that much money on on a fancy backpacking tent, the last couple times that I went out, because I wanted to kind of, I always try to like push myself, I actually took 2 tarps and made a shelter. There's a lot of different tarp shelter configurations that you can put a little fire in front of you, and it reflects the heat back into you, and you'll have a whole open wall, and you'll still be just as warm because you have a little fire there. But, with that being said, this is how I have mine set up on my bottom, and this disconnects, and this is how I carry it. It's just two tarps. One is a canvas tarp that's heavy that I use to lay on. I put it on the bottom of my tent. And then another one is just your regular tarp material that I use as my covering. And with that being said, the only way that I can make this is I always carry rope, which having rope with you, whether it be 550 cord or a little bit thicker stuff like this, the 1/2 inch that I use, it's good to have. No matter what, you're always going to need to tie something down, tie a tarp, et cetera, et cetera. Everything is strapped down pretty tight. I'll start out with my bag, before I get into too crazy. This is an Osprey. It's called the Osprey Kestrel 68 liter. And a 68 liter is something I recommend for the men, anywhere between 58 liters to 68 liters. And that goes into how much space can fit on the inside of this bag. And this one goes for about $200, give or take. But like I said, there's all types of levels to backpacking gear. I've been doing it for a little while, so I saved up a little bit for this one, and it's super comfortable. Another thing is that I'll get to the tools later, but you're gonna want a bladder. By a bladder, I mean like a camel pack, and I keep that snug right here, but it slips in. If I can get it right behind the back brace, and it just looks like this, and it has a drinking tube that ties into my shoulder pad right here. And this tube actually ties directly into my water filter, so I don't have to take this bag out to refill my water reservoir. And this is a Camel Pack 3 liter water bladder. You can get it at pretty much any running store or Sportsman's or any sporting goods store. Even Walmart has them. But I'm gonna just shove that back in here. Usually it's a little neater, but for time's sake, everything just snugs in right here. Going back to how I make that shelter is you're going to want rope, like I said, and that's exactly what this is. This is my ridge line, which a ridge line is the very top point of a roof. And what I do is I just tie this from one tree to another tree, and I use a loop on one side and just feed it the rope through here, and then I tie the other section down really tight, and then I drape a tarp over it, and then now I have an A-frame tarp, and then I'll just put my canvas tarp on the bottom like this, and then I'll build a fire in front of my shelter to reflect the heat back into you. And you don't have to build a big fire. I mean, the fire is like that big, and it puts off a lot of heat. And again, you want to keep your signature down because you don't want to attract attention. Smoke attracts attention, cooking food attracts attention, and making too much noise by like whacking an axe echoes through the woods, which I'm going to get through the tools that I use. So I'm just going to be taking my bag out and be putting this back together as I go. But as for sleeping wise, after you make your shelter, however it may be, get a backpacking sleeping bag. And the difference between a regular sleeping bag and a backpacking sleeping bag is a backpacking sleeping bag is made of material that can compress into a really tight bundle like this. And I can make this even tighter if I wanted to, but I just have it kind of, where I'm not fighting it. But it just goes to show you that this thing can like snug up even tighter to fit in your bag. And I have mine in the bottom, so I didn't want to bring it out, but I had another one so I can show you about the size that it is. Salakia. I was just going to give you a reference point how tall this one. So this one is 8 inches by 11 inches. And that just goes to show you about how much size you want to look for. Moving on to tools. When you're clearing bush, you're going through the woods that a trail hasn't gone through, you get a lot of stuff in your way. And you gotta be like mountain man, just hacking at everything. but it's a lot easier to clear a shelter location if you have a blade. I recommend, just a machete. This is nothing fancy. Any machete. It's a tool. It does what it does, and that's it. And I just wrap paracord around it in case I wanted extra. And I have a sling on it because I always just throw it over my shoulder if I'm out, doing whatever, and I don't want to carry a big old bag with me. Going into saving time, energy, and instead of making those big whacking noises and Jacob's trouble, that echoes through everywhere. Taking an axe and just boom. So what I recommend is this is like less than half a pound, and it actually can cut a log up to about 6 inches per se. And all it is a folding saw blade, and they sell these everywhere. It's just a saw blade, nothing fancy. It cuts small stuff, but instead of just using energy to hack something with an axe, it's a little easier to just work through it, with a little handsaw, especially if you don't need it. Continuing with the tools, everything is secured down pretty well. Oh, I use these little ties to keep things from bouncing around when you're walking, because you want everything to be tight, not be loose or moving every step you take. I keep the saw and this together, but this is just any axe. You have to have an axe for foraging wood, creating a shelter, all types of things, using the end as a hammer to drive a stake in the ground for your tent or whatever it is. To be in the woods, you have to have a saw and you have to have an axe. And even if you aren't in the forest, you can use these items to break apart sections of your wall that you don't need, that you may need to forage for firewood if you can't leave your house. Just different tools. An axe is one of those ancient primal tools that are timeless, that you need. So you need a tool. And apart from a tool is you need a shovel. For one, my main thing that I carry this for is burying waste. You got to use the bathroom when you're out there. So you got to bury it deep so the rainfall doesn't wash it away, doesn't make it mud. It's pretty gross, and it's courteous, to nature itself to get rid of your stuff properly. You can use this to dig out a fire pit, to entrench a little like sleeping area that you want, to clear snow. And what I recommend too, a tip, do not get the folding shovels. Don't even waste your money on those little baby ones. They break every time. I think I've gone through at least 2 or 3 before I actually got the hint of never get one of those again. But this is just a regular gardening shovel. You can usually find these little baby ones in like your grandma and mom like gardening section. And make sure it's made out of good stuff. This is a wood one, and I switched to wood just because I've broken so many shovels. Digging and doing rocks and stuff like that. And I've had this one for almost 3 to 4 years, so it's doing really good for me. And I recommend getting a solid handle one. That e-tool, those folding ones break every time. They have too many weak points. So I'm gonna keep it going. And this is my bag packed ready to go as it is, and it is packed how I would walk with it. So some of the things that I keep all the way to the top that are easy access to grab quickly, I have certain things that I only keep in this pouch. One of those things is very important. It is a first aid kit. And this is nothing fancy. This is nothing too crazy. But, and I actually have this smaller one. This is not my main one. The main one that I actually use is on my belt that I hike with, that has a special pull-out, quick release first aid kit. And that if somebody come upon me and I don't have my bag on me or I'm unconscious, I have it marked that that's the first aid kit. So anybody applying first aid to me has my stuff to use on me instead of me using my stuff on them, if that makes sense. You want to have another one to, hey, you got a blister? Well, that's another thing too. Keep Band-Aids, because if you don't tie your boots tight, and I have to reiterate this, because you got to take care of your feet. Tie your boots tight, because you will get blisters. And once you get blisters, they start this big, and soon enough they're this big, and soon enough you are not walking. So your feet are everything. You know, you got to take care of yourself. And these are just things on the trail that I've picked up because I've had blisters. I've been hiking with people that didn't listen to me and said, "Oh, my boots kind of hurt. I don't want to tie them too tight." And by the end of the trail, man, they had blisters all over their feet and the back of their heels. Oh, it was bad. Good thing I had Band-Aids, though. Another thing that I like to put in every first aid kit that you won't find except in like naturopathic stores is colloidal silver. This is just regular silver gel. And I like the gel because once it dries, it doesn't, wash off. It like leaves like a putty on your skin. But colloidal silver is good because colloidal silver destroys any viruses, bacteria, or fungus living in your cut. No infection can live in the presence of microsilver, which is what this is. And just in this first aid kit, real quick, I have the spray version. So this is the same thing as colloidal silver, but it's just the spray. It's not the gel. And then just a couple of Band-Aids and duct tape for a little bit bigger bleeders. And being in the bush, you don't want to, risk a bandage falling off every 2 seconds. And I always keep latex gloves in there and super glue in case you need to use emergency stitches, which I've done before. It works great. And then also tweezers, because you will, at most likely some point, if you're not wearing gloves, get a sliver, especially with Jake's baby hands. Never worked a day in his life. No, I'm just joking. But there's this. We're still at the first pocket. I like to have a flashlight in there, something that's handheld, This is just a neck scarf or something that can be brought over your nose to stop if wind is like blowing, you get wind burn. And if you have just a thin layer over your face, you stay so much warmer. And Thawadak, I hope that this lesson is given, you brothers anything, because, again, none of the preparations that you make can save you through Jacob's trouble, except Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. These are just the knowledge that I have that I want to share with the Akim that want to start preparing, because especially with the signs of the times and everything that we're dealing with right now, it's not unwise to have these things. So this is continuing. I always keep an emergency blanket, and you can get these anywhere. They're really light, but what I like to use these for is I put them underneath my canvas tarp, and then I put my canvas tarp on, because what it does is it reflects heat that you lose back up into you. So if you're laying on the cold ground, the ground is always going to be cold. But if you have the canvas and you throw one of these down, especially in the winter, I've even camped right on top of snow, and this works. It'll reflect your heat back into you, and you will stay a little bit warmer. And another big thing too is gloves. Make sure you have gloves, not some thin little latex gloves like I'm showing you, some leather bound, gloves that you can do some work in, because after an hour of gathering firewood, your hands are going to be sore. Wet wipes. You don't want to get toilet paper. When you wipe your ass and you're in the woods, you want to feel clean. Wiping with dry shit don't feel clean. So wet wipes. And wet wipes aren't just for, it's also, for your armpits. Give yourself, a shower. Take care of what you got to take care of. But you can use one wipe. I know it sounds gross, but in Jacob's trouble, you can do it. One wipe, you can do your armpits, that, and take care of, what you need to. Wet wipes. Put them in your bag. And I just have another extra pair of latex gloves. I usually keep those in there because I'll bring like a little piece of meat when I'm out there to cook on the fire, and so I like to put gloves on when I'm cleaning it and stuff like that. And then I discard them or whatever. But another thing too, you have a flashlight, that's cool. But when you're doing stuff with your hands and you're lifting up firewood and you're chopping and you're carrying and you're doing this, you're not seeing anything. You want to have both hands open. So what you want is a headlight, and make sure you have extra batteries too. But this is just a headlight, nothing fancy. It's not, they have all types of levels of headlights, but it's just something that you can throw over your head and then do what you got to do. And then you can still see. So and Oh, okay. That's the only thing. The only thing that I have in here specifically is just this is just a fish gutting knife. I'll bring a fishing pole that you can slap to the side of this thing pretty easily and get close to water, river, lake, etc. And this is just a sharp knife. It's just like a super sharp knife for filleting. I don't use it for anything but cutting my meat or filleting a fish. He says, "Very true, King. Them wet wipes will get the job done in the wilderness." Because being having your hygiene is very important out there. You don't want to get slacking. There's certain things that you can use for natural toothbrush. I know pine trees, pine needles. You can actually break those down and in water, swish it in your mouth, and repeat the process, and it actually cleans your mouth out pretty good. It doesn't taste too good, but it tastes like sap. But there's a lot of different ways to take care of your mouth. But the best is to just get a toothbrush, and I'll get that a little later. But I'm gonna start working my way inside the bag now. I take out the main compartment, which is right here, and I leave a little bit extra space open in my bag, even if it's so quote unquote all the way packed. Because before I go out and leave the door, I'm always putting last minute things like a whole onion, oh, I want extra layer, oh, an extra beanie, and I know I was going to be doing this and tying it in with backpacking, but the same lessons that I learned during backpacking are going to apply when you're in the wilderness. The wilderness is the wilderness, whether you're out in the woods now or you're out in the woods in Jacob's Trouble, apart from, maybe strange apparitions popping up and tormenting the 2/3 and the other people. But hey, for the most part, it's something that it's pretty wild to think about. But this is just doing the best that we can, because we don't know what to prepare for exactly in detail. We know what's coming, we know the prophecies, but where you're going to be, the time, the date, the situation. You could be visiting family out of state. And that's why going into, again, no preparations that you make are guaranteed that you're even going to use these. I have all these, but who's to say I'm not 1,000 miles away, when the shit hits the fan. Lord willing, no matter where I am, he's going to take care of me. The same applies for all you Akim, Wap. I know you have the same thoughts. But, like I said, I leave a little extra space into here. But whether it's the summer or dead of winter, I always bring a beanie. Because when you're sleeping in your sleeping bag, which is the sleeping bag that I showed you, is a mummy bag. Your head kind of pops out and then it gets in the wind and you wake up and you're waking up all night because you got a cold head. And I've noticed that in winter and in summer. Just maybe it's just me. But I know I showed you that I had a water bladder, but a water bladder is a thin piece of plastic. It can get holes in it. Especially if you're running, you're rough with it. Something could happen, you poke a hole, now what? What are you going to carry water in? I always bring a plan B. I always throw 2 water bottles in my bag because these break a lot less, and then you can drink all the water in it and then throw it back in your bag to use it to fill up water again if your camel pack breaks. You have to have plan Bs ahead. And the only reason why I know about this is because it has happened to me before. And my whole shit got wet and I had no water bottles with me. Luckily, my cousin that I was hiking with at the time did, and I was able to just keep refilling it, But continuing, part of your clothes and something that you have to have in your bag if you're not wearing it is a waterproof layer. You have to have a waterproof layer, even though you're like, it's summer, I'm not going to need it for another 3 months. Well, guess what? You will. Always bring a jacket. Always bring layers, because like I said, it's easier to take layers off than to try to cover yourself up if you have nothing. But this is just a jacket I keep folded up. It's a waterproof jacket. I got it at the North Face outlets. So it was like originally like $150 jacket, and I got it for like on clearance at the end of the year for like 60 something bucks, which is a freaking steal for a good waterproof jacket. You want to spend good quality money, on some gear. I don't. Oh, and another thing, don't wear your waterproof jacket around the fire, because fire sparks and stuff like that, and you can get embers on you, and those embers will burn all the way through your clothes into your skin. And I have ruined some pretty good jackets that way. So if I can help Inoculum from destroying a favorite jacket, you know, if you're wearing a good jacket, don't be right next to the fire. So that's going into your clothes again. This is not a necessity. Again, this is just something that I keep in my backpacking backpack. I keep a smaller backpack. And this one is like really tight. Like, look, this is just one hand and it's already all the way in there. But what it is it's just another backpack. It's a backpack inside a backpack. And what it does is when you're foraging or you're carrying your filter, your extra water bottles, your snacks, your binoculars, extra whatever you want to carry, you don't want to have to just throw your bag back on. You want to be able to just throw something light on and go. And that's what this is. And I got this one at the Eddie Bauer store for $20. So, you know, it's an Eddie Bauer, but it's a cheap backpack, you know, and they're really nice to have. And they fold inside themselves, like I said, as a little compartment like you saw. You know, it's good to have, not a necessity. But again, this is not a necessity, something I have in my backpacking bag. This is just a mini blow-up mattress. So so like, yeah, I was starting to read the comments, but I'll get to that question. Like he said, what is the best defense against insects? Two things: a smoke with a fire with fresh green pine needles on it. You know, if you have a campfire, throw some green pine needles on it, and the flies and everything will go away from you. And also carry bug spray. You know, I keep both in my bag. Well, not both because the fire's at the campsite, but I do keep an insect repellent with me. And it's just the regular spray stuff, nothing fancy. Like I said, this is just a comfort. This blows up to a 20 by 72 inch air mattress that's about 4 inches thick. But what it does is it just helps me sleep, keep a little air gap between you and the ground, because ground is never even in the woods. So it helps to put something down, and then so you're not waking up with like a crimped back. And again, this is not a necessity, but this is actually a little mini blow-up pillow. I forgot that was in there, but I'm just pulling stuff out. So that goes along with that. So one of the most important things, if not the most important thing, gear-wise, other than, you know, your boots, because your boots are everything. Your feet are everything, and I got to reiterate that point. Get a high-cut boot that's at least 10 inches. That's leather, you know, waterproof if you can. You know, that's not gonna, you know, break down over time. So your boots and your water filter, and this is the brand name. It's called Katadyn, and it's made specifically for backpackers. And I'm gonna break this open and to show you. This is actually probably one of the most expensive items. It runs for about $68 to $90. I've seen it anywhere in that range, and probably even more, depending on what store you go to, whether it be REI, you know, Sportsman's, Cabela's, et cetera, et cetera. But this is mine. I've had it for almost 2 years, and it can filter up to 100,000 gallons is what it's advertised as. And so the way you set it up is 2 tubes. One tube goes out the top, which is that little hole right there, and that just connects to this tube. And what that does is it takes the water from this tube that connects at the bottom, that has the same connections as the camel pack that I showed you, so everything just clicks into place. This part you set down in your water that you're wanting to filter. So you put this part in your city puddle, or in your river, or in your lake, or in a little. I've even drink, because wasn't able to find any water, and I ran out of water, and I was out of water for almost 4 hours in the Idaho sun, hiking with a heavy pack in the woods, and I ended up finding a rut in the road that a car like drove off of in like way back when I was first starting. And I actually drank water out of that puddle by filtering it through, not this one specifically, but one that's the same brand that I've since replaced. But, you know, it just goes to show you that it works. So what this does is, like I showed you, it connects into my mouthpiece of my Camel Pack, so I don't have to take anything out of my bag. I dip this into the water, and then I'm just, all you do is you give it a steady pump, and it's just filtering water through a filter that's in here. And after every use, make sure you air dry it. You just leave it. But all it does is it just looks like a filter like that. Nothing fancy. And then it just spins in there. Like I said, just to keep it going, I'm going to get to all this stuff, to the side. But if there's any brothers that want like a specific name, a link where to order some of the stuff that I get, I will send it to you. If you comment and you message me and ask, hey, what's this? What do you recommend for this? I'll send you a link with some info of where I get the gear, or you can order it online. So leading into, I have a handheld flashlight, a headlight, and I also keep a lantern. And this one just has a little stand, that pops up that you can prop up. And it's just a space light, because when you're in the middle of the woods, sometimes I like to have my camp spot lit up a little bit. And I bring extra batteries for this so I can keep it running almost the whole time that I'm up at night. So when I go to sleep, I'll turn everything down, but I like to have a little light because, you don't want to trip or wear your headlight constantly. So I'll start to go into, what to eat, what I eat when I'm out there, how I prepare my food, and certain things like that. So I'm just going to start with these. This is just a little grill that I set up. When I'm backpacking, I have a little fire going, and I usually get pretty lucky and I score a fish. And I just put that fish directly on here and cook it after it's been processed and filleted. But I always carry a little baby cutting board with me, because it's not good for your knife to cut on rock, or there's not always a clean flat piece of wood that's around you. So it's good to have a little grill to cook your stuff on. Backpacking wise, this is not Jacob's Trouble wise. This is just something that I bring with me when I'm out. One thing that I recommend brothers get though are these right here. This is just a gas canister for your miniature stove that's in here. And what this is you have to be able to boil water for two reasons. You could either boil water to clean it, but I recommend not wasting your oven, your stove. You can use it with a fire. But also you have to boil water to add to the dehydrated, freezer-dried backpacking food, which is exactly that. It's freezer-dried, has no water in it. But what you do is there's directions on the back of every packet, and they look like this. And this is not the only thing I eat out there. I'll bring some like fresh vegetables and stuff like that to mix in. But this is how they look. They're just freezer dried. They're really thin. They're really light, but they do require boiling water. So you have to figure out how to boil water when you're out there, which is really easy if you have the right things. And this is my favorite one. This brand right here, I've eaten a lot, but this one tastes the best. It's a chicken pesto pasta, and it's ready in less than 5 minutes once you boil the water. This is just apple cinnamon quinoa oatmeal, and this is called Backpackers Pantry. This is a major brand. You can find it pretty much almost anywhere. This is for like breakfast. And this gives you about how much I take. Those are 3 small meals. Which is just just another brand of the same type of foods, freezer dried. But that's what I bring for that. But to boil your water, you have to have something first and foremost, to boil your water in. And this is just the top portion of it, and I always throw a little utensil in here. I use like my small spoon. This is actually a stand that folds out that I recommend is not a necessity, but it's helped me before. And what it does is and this is a universal size. All of these configurations of stoves have that same universal adapter. So you just screw it in and you're off. But this one just clicks onto the bottom. And what it does is it gives you a better platform for cooking, you know, instead of having worrying about your stuff being top heavy and teetering over, because that's a small base. You know, it gives you more stability, you know. So you take that little cover off, and it's a Stand Sport, you know, backpacking stove. But this is how big your stove is. See that? Really small, really light. And I'll show you how it works. You have to have one of these gas cans, and they sell ones smaller than this. They sell ones half this size, and they even sell ones that are even smaller than that for like a day trip, a day hiking thing. Because I can use a full one of these for almost 5 to 6 days of boiling food and boiling water multiple times a day, making coffee in the morning, certain things like that. Not really trying to like save it. And these big ones are about 5 to 6. And the smaller ones that are half this size are about anywhere from 3 to 4. But this is how it looks. So you take it out. It comes in folded like this. But then you open it up, and you have a little grill base. Spread the legs out right there, you know, and that's how it looks. And what it does is it screws in the bottom to the top of this, just like this. And these, they sell everywhere. They even sell these in Walmart, you know, but it just screws on tight. Not too tight where you gotta reef it down, but you hear a little gas escape and you can smell it, so you know that the connection is good. And what I recommend brothers getting one with an electrical igniter, and by that it's just this. It's like a barbecue lighter. See that? That spark? And what that does is you don't have to have an extra lighter to try to light things. So you just give it a little gas, and then you hit the igniter, and you have a full-blown mini stove that you can actually cook and boil food on. And it's mobile, see? And the flames don't go out crazy, but you know, that just goes to show you that this right here, and it's stable. I'm just messing with it right here. You have a different level. But before I get too crazy with that, so that's how it looks like. Moving on. So something to boil your water and something to boil your water in. And this is just a little case, but this is just a bigger bowl. As you can see, I've put on fire a couple times, but you know, this just sits right here, boiling water. And to show you how good this is too, this actually cools down really quick. So like I can like put my hand on it and stuff like that, and it won't burn you. I mean, it's still a little warm, but it's not gonna melt anything. It's made and designed that way, so you're not having a red hot piece of metal trying to pack it away in a rush. But and this is a little heavier, but I do carry a mini cast iron pan with me, because the vegetables that I bring, I can throw them in here, cook anything. You get, you know, a fish, you take down clean meat, you know, you have something to cook it with, because you don't realize, oh, I just got this animal, how do I cook it? You know, you put it on a steak and rotate it. You know, you got to even know how to do that. So it's nice to have one of these real quick and handy. I always keep another extra emergency blanket, and this one is just bigger and it's a little bit thicker. So I use it for, sometimes I'll throw it over the top of my shelter just to give myself a little bit more insulation. If it's in like the snow or winter, or I'm snowshoeing, I'll make sure to get an extra one of those. And this is the last item, other than a few of the fire starters that I wanted to go over. This is what I use for pretty much my miscellaneous box, because there's a lot of stuff that you have in here and you don't want to be going through everything like a damn woman's purse, all unorganized, when you need something. And all it is it's just this, you know. I have certain things. This is just utensils, in case someone else is with me. And this actually is just a sleeve for grabbing a hot pan. Seasonings, because you got to put, you know, that lemon pepper chicken spice on it, lemon pepper on it. I always keep a little thing of olive oil with me because you have to have a fat base to cook some food. This is a soap. This is called Pure Castile soap, and it's just lavender. I'm sure you guys have seen this bottle before, but that's all it is. It's just pretty much biodegradable soap. I'm a little bit of a hippie, so I don't want to put like chemicals that you get on Dove lotion in the water. So that's why I use this one. And then I use a little thing of lotion because I get ashy. A little toothpaste that I like, and this is like that black charcoal stuff. You know, you got to keep your teeth clean. And I always bring in a thing of pink Himalayan salt, just because you know you got to get your salt, and it's good to have it, especially you know when you're out there. I always bring a toothbrush. You know, I just throw an extra one in. Nothing too fancy. I have this little container, but it's deodorant. So what I did is I just bought the little container, and I took a regular size stick of deodorant, and I just cut the top off, and I just packed it in here because I like my deodorant aluminum free, you know. But I don't like the little ones they use for traveling size because, you know, I like my deodorant, especially when I'm out there. This is actually just for my contacts, and this isn't just for, you know, keeping your moisturized. This is actually antibacterial too, in case you get an eye infection or a pink eye or something like that. You have the means to take care of it. Like I said, you always have extra batteries, and I have waterproof matches in there as well, which goes along to say, have at least 3 ways to start a fire. And I always keep those pretty close to me. And those 3 ways are right here. So one is a lighter. Okay, pretty easy. Everybody knows that. Second one is waterproof matches. They're too tight, so they don't shake, but they're in there. And then this is called a magnesium or a flint striker, and it just looks like this. And it's just a bar that you scrape a little pile of shavings. A little pile of shavings on your thing, and then you can, you know, it makes a spark. But you can either use a knife or something metal that you have, but that's what that is. Have at least 3 ways and practice with this, because this takes a little bit of skill in your backyard even, you know. Learn how to make a fire. And like I said, 3 ways: magnesium striker, lighter, and matches. You want to have a plan A, B, and C. But again, during Jacob's trouble, you know, Murphy's rule, no matter how much you plan, you know, something can go wrong. I think there's a saying in the military called Murphy's Law, which you can make all these plans, you can make all the preparation, but when shit hits the fan, bullets start flying, the fog of war sets in, this guy died, you're trying to drag this guy across here, you know, in the fog of war, in the midst of the things actually happening, who knows how you're going to react. So no matter what preparations you make, you can have all the means necessary. But since you didn't prepare spiritually first and foremost, everything that you've done is worthless. Because what is it? The knowledge and wisdom shall be the stability of thy times, you know, in those dark evils, you know, roughly paraphrasing, because we are going through those days and we're living in those days. And so that's pretty much the majority of what I wanted to speak on. You know, Lord willing, it was edifying. Another thing that I grab, you know, is I throw a poncho in my bag. It's just one of those things that, you know, you can roll in up and then stuff in if you wanted like some extra, you know, warmth depending on what season you're going out. But, you know, that's pretty much it, Israel. You know, I was thinking about how to put this lesson together and kind of just give you guys all the information as best as I can. I know I probably missed things here or there, but this is tied into how I go backpacking, but it also applies to staying warm in Jacob's trouble, because having this knowledge and what to have, having a water filter, a stove, things to boil your water in, a first aid kit, fail safe, tarp, you know, certain things that a prudent man, when he sees those evil coming, that he's going to prepare himself accordingly. Joseph knew that the famine was coming in Egypt. Salakia. So what did he do? He prepared, and that helped him rise to power, and him rise to his position that he was meant to. We know that it was because he interpreted the dream also correctly. He was made Tate, second under Pharaoh. But, not to get too off topic, but you understand that no matter what we do, physically, carnally, none of it's going to matter if you don't have the spiritual protection of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And none of us know if we have that or not until that day comes, because we're all going to be tested. We're all going to be faced with a life or death situation. And it's in that moment where we're truly going to get tested. So, I just wanted to bring this information out to brothers with families that are going to depend with water, especially if you're a man with a family. You got to be able to hold your own, to protect your own, to provide for your own, and having a water filter, a stove, some basic knowledge of some of the things that you're going to need when the grid collapse, no running water, no heat, no AC, no sanitary facilities, none of that. It's good to know how to keep yourself going a little bit longer in those times. And it says, so this is a brother, Shawab just put, all unfortunate situations are going to be a test of your faith. And that's true because, everybody's trial is going to be different, and I'm just showing this an example that no one's exempt. Shit, I could have all this materials, preparations, and stuff like that, and the Most High could put it on my test that I would have none of this stuff, and to see if I, am going to be like, oh, I have nothing, and bug out, even though Yahweh Bashem Yahushai already knows what you're made of, but you don't know what you're made of. And that's why Yahweh Bashem Yahushai is going to put you in certain situations, lack of a better word, to test your nuts. Whether you're going to fold, whether you're going to go the easy route, whether you're going to submit to the flesh, whether it be fear of your life being taken away or of your loved ones being taken away. It's gonna be wild, and it's gonna be far out, and there's no way to prepare for it except in the scriptures, except spiritually, and I know that's, it sounds a little funny based on everything that I just said, but none of this is gonna matter if you don't prepare the correct way. So I don't want to keep blabbering, but the water for all the Akim that we're posting those scriptures on the comment board. I'll grab a couple of those, because the type of evils is just like this. This is 2nd Esdras 6:22. It says, for many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So either way, like I said, if you're slated for that destruction, you're slated for that destruction. No matter what bunker you run into, no matter what mountain you run up, no matter what bridge you hide under like a little troll, Most High Yahweh Bashem Yahushai is going to get you. So this is, 2 Timothy 1:7. This is, for Yahweh hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Because, while the rest of the world's bugging because they can't turn on the faucet, trying to figure out what to do, going to Walmart in the midst of everybody and their mother going to Walmart trying to get a flashlight and some batteries. You don't want to do that, Jake. So get what you need now, and don't think that just because it's in the store today, it's going to be there tomorrow. We've already seen how quickly supply shortages happen. So, this has been taking years to mess around with my gear, but it didn't take me years to get. It just took me years to decide what I like, what I don't need, what's extra weight, and et cetera, et cetera. So, all this is for, the edification of Yashar Allah. Lord willing, is the best of my ability. And if there's any questions on any of the materials, products that I used here, send a comment, let me know your question and I'll answer it. I'll send you information how to get to this stuff, and that's that. So, Lord willing, this is edifying, to the elect. I like to say shalom. I like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakar Kudash, and double honors to our apostles and the elders at Great Millstone, and peace and salutations to the hopeful elect Akim that are laboring by pushing this word in truth and sincerity. This is your brother Nahar out here from the Hebrew Israelites of Idaho camp, saying Shalom and DTA and a Bob of Ball. Soon.